Welcome to Proline Daily, the longest-running sports handicapping show in America, direct from Las Vegas. It is Sweet 16 weekend as we take a look at Friday, March the 24th. Action, we've got 4 more games tonight, 4 decided last night. Jim Feist is here with me. I'm Dave Cokin. Jim, it's now 56-32 with your college basketball run, so it continues.
It's been really good. 8-4 with all my plays on Thursday, including my tournament bailout game of the month with Xavier, a straight-up winner. And gee, you have to say, how this Xavier coach is really good. But I'm really happy that I was on them and I've been on them. Here's how you can get on board. Play the rest of the college and NBA seasons for just $99. Plays every day. Just call 866-546-9467 to get on board with this. And of course, you can always go to jimfeist.com for all of our plays, Dave's and I's, and mine and others, and some great information as well. Just call the number if you want to talk to the office right now for this special 866-546-9467.
All right, I'm going to do a little something different here because baseball season's about to begin. We're a week away. I like the early part of the baseball season because I think I've got a little bit of an edge going in with my preseason work. Still got some college basketball to go. And, of course, there's NHL on a nightly basis. Here's what I'm going to do. Now, on my website, I charge $500 for a month of service. I'm going to cut that in half. $250, you're going to get all my plays for an entire month. $250 an entire month, all the selections right across the board. This is a one-day only special, so make sure and call today. It's a 855-472-2577, and that does include the daily Pros versus Joes reports, which continue to produce at a terrific rate. Now the NBA stuff has been really good lately. The sharp money is doing very well. You'll be getting those reports as well. So again, $250, one-day special, 855-472-2577. Let's talk a little about last night. I don't want to rip Purdue or take anything away from Kansas because Kansas was absolutely great in the game. But boy, you don't often see a team just pack it in and tap out like Purdue did in the second half of that game. They just gave up and stopped running back on defense. Kind of an embarrassing way to end a good season.
Well, it really was, Dave. I mean, I go back to what I've been talking about for a long time in the college this year. There really is no great team. There's nobody that you can say this team's got it all and they come to play every day, unless you go to a team like Xavier, who comes to play every day and they give 100% every day and they got a great coach. No, they do not have the talent. But I'm going to kind of transition into something here. You've got to have enough pride to say, I'm going to fight to the end. I'm not going to give up. And they don't. I want to go to another game and analyze it right here online for everybody to listen to. Last night, Gonzaga won a game against West Virginia. They were favored by 3.5. I personally had West Virginia. I pushed on about 80% of the money that I had on it. I did collect on the 3.5s that I had, and I lost a little bit on the money line bet. So, but let's look at this game. Then you'll say Gonzaga, they proved that they can hang with a tough team. Well, really? Let's talk about that. What did West Virginia do in this game? They shot 16 for 60. Dave, you and I, at our advanced stages, could have done better than 16 for 60 from the field. 5 for 23 from three-point land. This team gave up a million opportunities to get beat. They are not that solid. Yeah, we can look at it and say, oh, yeah, they beat a good team. They beat a team from a power conference. They didn't cover the spread. They actually lost to the spread in some spots. But let's get real. When you beat a team by 3 points that shot 16 for 60, 5 from 20 of 23 from 3-point land, It's absolutely amazing. And of course, at the end of the game, their foul shooting killed them too. But I give credit to Mark Pugh and Gonzaga for what they've accomplished. One loss all year. But I got to get real and say, how many teams are capable of shooting 16 for 60?
Yeah, that was ugly. But give Gonzaga credit also. They found a way to fight through. West Virginia played some great defense last night. And the Mountaineers' problems came to the forefront once again. They just don't shoot the ball very well. They had a lot of games like that this season, and it showed up again at the wrong time last night. The other two games last night, we got to touch on we'll save Michigan and Oregon because that was just a phenomenal basketball game. Xavier and Arizona, full credit to Xavier. They looked like they were dead. It was, 69-61? And they're pretty much toast. And Arizona melted. And I, for the life of me, don't understand what Arizona was doing on that last possession. It was good by me. I didn't want overtime. I had Xavier in the game. And you never want overtime if you had the dog. So I was real happy with what they decided to do, which was go for the win with a three-pointer. But it was a contested three-pointer. You got to drive the basket in that situation. You've got the better basketball team. You kind of want overtime. So go for the higher percentage shot and try and get it to OT. If there's nothing there, maybe you can kick it out and take a three. But I thought that was a terrible play that Trier ran, and Arizona's going home. Now, the other game last night, this lived up to billing in every way. This was a tremendous basketball game between Michigan and Oregon. And Jim, somebody had to win and somebody had to lose, and Oregon managed to make the last shot and got the win. That was a phenomenal basketball game.
That was one of the best basketball games I've seen in years. It was incredible. It wasn't good for my pocket. I had Michigan in the game, but I pushed on some of the, and I didn't know I had one at one spot, but most of the bets I was laying one or getting pick 'em. So I had Michigan, lost that bet, but still, hats off. These guys played hard. The game was dead even all the way. The three-point shooting by Michigan was probably the letdown, and I'll tell you, Oregon hit their three-pointers 47% from the field. That's incredible. 8 out of 17. They did remarkable, and Michigan wasn't even close to that. They hit 35%. But
the one other thing, the two biggest plays in the game were by Bell, offensive rebounds, one off a foul shot and the other one off a field goal miss. And those were the two biggest plays of the game. That's why Oregon won, was the offensive rebounding by Bell at the end of the game.
No question. That one play where they got the extra possession, that was remarkable. They had 36 rebounds in the game to 31 for Michigan. That was big. That's it gives when they look at the foul shooting, there were 9 of 16, where Michigan was 7 of 7. So they did get more opportunities, but they only got 2 more it was a hell of a game. It could have, if they played 10 times, it'd probably be split because they really played well. Two good coaches. That was really, really quality basketball. I enjoyed that game a lot.
Let's look at tonight's games. I have 2 plays. One I gave out as a free play on the South Carolina Baylor game. The other one's Wisconsin and Florida, so I don't want to talk about that much. Hopefully you'll buy those selections and get on the winning side with me, because I think I've got the right side in that game. Which games are you involved in?
Well, it'd be a shorter list if you talked about what games I'm not involved in. But I have power ratings and situational advantages in each game. The question is, sometimes your power ratings lean you to the right, and your situations will lean you to the left. So I have two underplays going tonight, and I have 2 sides. Well, actually, 1, 2, 3 sides going. So I have 3 sides and 2 unders. It has been an over tournament, but because of the over tendency and bias, since the beginning, we're starting to see some unders. And last night, 3 out of the 4 games went under, and the only one that went over is what you alluded to, Dave, is when Purdue just stopped playing. they just quit. And when that happened, we got 164 points. We got 98-66. So that went over substantially, but it was basically due to the fact that Purdue quit playing. It was an embarrassment for the Big Ten and for their program specifically.
So let's try and break down. I think the interesting game to me, from a breakdown standpoint, is South Carolina and Baylor, because that might be a good game to talk about. The Gamecocks are coming off an absolutely amazing second half of basketball against Duke. That was about as good as a team can play. And the interesting thing was, it was right on the heels of a half where they were just awful. South Carolina was 7 for 35 in the first half of that game against UCL or against Duke, and then they had a phenomenal second half. Which South Carolina team is going to show up tonight? That's going to decide what happens in this matchup. We know South Carolina is going to play great defense because they always do. I think Baylor might be a little underrated defensively. Baylor also can get a little scattershot on offense at times. The two big guys are going to be the keys here. Thornwell is the star for South Carolina, and Mobley for Oregon. And I think whichever one has the better game tonight, whichever the two superstars has the better game, I think that team's going to be moving on to the Elite Eight.
Well, let's talk about a little. I totally agree. I want to add one thing that you didn't bring up. South Carolina scored 65 points in the final 20 minutes against Duke the other night, which is absolutely incredible. To score 65 points in a game is normally your game anyway, but to do it in a half, they did it in a half against Duke. But Duke was playing man-to-man defense.
Yeah.
Now, the difference here tonight, and this is where the handicappers want to look at a game and say, okay, what is the situation in this game that we haven't seen before or recently? And if we've seen it before or recently, what happened then? So this is where it comes down to digging. And this is, I mean, Dave, you and I don't know how much we sleep, but I know we're working 18 hours a day just digging through all this stuff. And then I'm going to get to baseball because you've been a baseball expert for years and how much work that takes. Oh. So, I mean, this is it's almost like somebody in this business that really digs in it. You really don't have a life. You bet. And if you do have a life, you better have an understanding mate because this is tough. But then getting back to this, Baylor is going to sit back in the zone in this game. And that is not what South Carolina faced in their last game when they scored the 65.5. Now, the question there is, can Baylor overcome a zone? Now,
South Carolina.
Pardon me?
South Carolina has to overcome the zone.
Yeah, excuse me, yes. Now, the reverse is, what is South Carolina going to do on defense? That they
play mostly man-to-man. And by the way, I apologize to Motley, who I called Mobley. I don't know why I did that. His name is Motley for Baylor. South Carolina's going to play mostly man, and if they play fierce man-to-man defense, that's Frank Martin's trademark. Baylor, I would call their defense more situational because they'll switch between man-to-man and zone. So South Carolina's going to have to figure out what they're doing defensively.
Yeah, I mean, these teams had their periods of time. I might mention that Baylor at one time during the season was ranked number 1 in the country. Now, that
lasted about a minute.
Those rankings are very fraudulent because the media does that, and the media has their head totally up their ass most of the time. So, and they don't know what they're doing. So the number 1 team in the country was never Baylor, although they might have put them there. But when you match up these games, when you look at, like, for example, Gonzaga against West Virginia, can Gonzaga handle the press? Well, they ended up winning the game, but when you analyze the box score, you say, my God, if anybody would have hit 30% of their shots, they'd have beat them by 10. So these are the things that you have to, if you want to win at this business, you have to dig down into the facts and do a deep dive into the facts. not just the cursory, oh, this is the final score, and not care how they got there.
Yeah, and going back to that Gonzaga game for a minute, if you look at the box score, you wonder how they won the game.
Yeah.
They lost the rebounding. West Virginia had 20 offensive rebounds in the game. The turnovers weren't a huge split, but West Virginia was +3 net on turnovers. Actually, West Virginia shot it better from the foul line. They were 21 for 29, which is okay. Gonzaga missed 11 free throws in the game, so they only shot 65%, 66% from the line last night. But it goes back to you got to put the ball in the basket. 11 for 37 on twos, 5 for 23 on threes. That's going to be the story tonight in the South Carolina Baylor game. I'm absolutely convinced of it. And look, if South Carolina, they're not a good shooting team. For the season, they're shooting 33% on threes, which is below average, and only 46% on twos, which is way below average. Now, defensively, they're tremendous, but they're going to have to find a way to make more shots than their season average if they want to move on in this game. They can do it. If they were able to bottle half of what they did the second half against Duke last night or last Sunday, they'll win. But that's the big key going into this game. And I think we have different opinions on this one.
Well, here's, I like I said, I'm going to go back to the beginning of I don't think we're looking at great pedigree for either of these teams. I think we're looking at good teams that occasionally play awful and occasionally play great. Now, if you go back to the West Virginia game, they played awful last night and still barely lost the game. Against Notre Dame, they played great. So if you look at those two performances, they're so diverse. There's no way to handicap what they would do the next time out because they were so inconsistent. It's the same thing with most of these teams. The top teams would probably right now, Kansas, after what they did last night, in most people's eyes, they're going to look as the best team. But however, Purdue did quit and Kansas did play at home, basically. So there's a lot of factors involved in that. So they're going to move on, from there, and now you're going to have to use those factors in your thinking. We're not dealing with A+ teams. We're dealing with A- or B+ teams. And that's what we're getting. That's why you really have to dig down as far as you have to into the stats, into the motivation, and into the coaching. And coaching does come into play.
Yeah.
Now, we talk about this one game coming up today or tomorrow is Xavier. And Chris Mack is a great coach. And I don't know, Dave, do you think he's going to move on to another position after this season?
If I were Indiana, I'd be throwing all kinds of money at him.
Yeah, I mean,
simple as that. I mean, I would go after Chris Mack. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. Xavier, I think Xavier pays pretty well. But the Big Ten is more of a destination location, and Indiana has the incredible tradition. But I have no idea what Mack's going to do. He's got it pretty good at Xavier. And some of these coaches don't want to leave their spots. Mark Few is a good example of that. He's gotten a ton of offers over the years, but he's never left Spokane. And I think right now he's kind of happy he's there. And, Xavier has that same kind of tradition. I mean, this team's in the Sweet 16 every year now.
It's kind of like...
You won't give that up.
It's some of these small schools, or we think of as small schools, they're not the power teams, like the Butlers, and Xavier. We could actually move on a little bit into Saturday matchups, Dave. I mean, I'm not going to pick any sides here, but this Oregon-Kansas matchup is a tremendous one. Xavier, we're talking about against Gonzaga, and we're talking about some opening numbers. The opener was Kansas over Oregon, 6 points, and now it's 6.5. So they're betting Kansas, and off of their performance against Purdue, I can understand that. Gonzaga opened 8; it's now 8.5. So the favorites are getting money, and so there's two big games that are going to happen on Saturday. that are really interesting to think about, talk about, and dig into, which I've already begun to do.
Yeah, as have I. I'll give you my power ratings on the two games. This doesn't mean I'll bet these sides. Now, the Kansas is interesting because my neutral court power rating in Oregon, Kansas is Kansas minus 4.3. But this isn't a neutral court, so you have to decide what to do as far as adding some kind of a home court advantage to Kansas. I'm giving them 2 points for the site, so that brings it to 6.3, and that basically is a no play. It's right on the number, basically. Now, the other game, the power rating, this is interesting. The power rating is high. I have Gonzaga 11.6, but, and this is a big but, that's a full season power rating, and Xavier is obviously playing a lot better than that. Also, Xavier, their power rating took a big tumble in the first several games after the Sumner injury. Well, they've obviously gotten past that now, and it's as if he was never there, which is amazing because the guy's a great player. So I don't know that you can draw a lot off those power ratings, but for people who like that stuff, those, again, neutral court only, Kansas 4.3 and Gonzaga 11.6. Does Gonzaga have any home court advantage with the game being in San Jose? I didn't give them one, but based on what I saw last night, I think Gonzaga I might have to add a point to that, just to the power rating. They're going to have the crowd on Saturday against Xavier, and that doesn't hurt.
There were two losers. The crowds, people that travel to that site, that their team is no longer in it. Now, some of those people are going to stay. Probably the majority of them will stay to watch these games, since they took a long trip to get there. Then the question is, will they root for the underdog, which a lot of people do. A lot of people that don't have any skin in the game will root for the underdog because it's a Cinderella story. And
yep.
We always like that. Well, Xavier is the biggest Cinderella story we have going in the entire tournament. So,
however, the flip side of that is that, and I can tell you this from personal experience, these Gonzaga fans really travel. They play their West Coast Conference tournament here at the Orleans, and it's like 90% Gonzaga. I mean, they buy all the tickets. They just absolutely pack the place. So they're going to be in Spokane, make the trip from Spokane to San Jose. It's not that long a trip, actually. And I think this crowd's going to be huge for Gonzaga. And I also think Xavier is a Cinderella story, but isn't Gonzaga the ultimate Cinderella story? They're a mid-major. They're from a mid-major conference, less of a conference than Xavier's from, actually. Xavier's from more of a major conference. The Big East is still a good top league. I think the crowd here is going to be very, very pro Gonzaga. I don't think that matters to Xavier, and I'm not giving it a whole lot of weight. 1 point at the most.
Well, I think your analysis is right on. Putting that together. The question is, do you want to lay 9 points, or
that's
you
a
want
lot
to
of points?
Because at some point in time, with a number sitting at 8.5, you're going to see 8s and you're going to see 9s.
Yeah, and there's one other thing. I think the pressure is on Gonzaga.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, they've been touted as a top team for many, many years, and this is the first chance they've really had to get to a Final Four.
Right, and they're big favorites. And they're going to know it. So there's a lot of pressure on them in this game, and we'll see how they respond. I think those are intangibles that you have to weigh into the analysis. You can't just play off the power rating numbers. If I were playing just off the numbers, I'd already have my bet in on Gonzaga, because 8.5 on the power ratings, I give them an edge there, and actually it's a decent edge. But I don't know whether I'm going to back that yet, and I want to dig a little more in that game before I make any wagers. And
how about coaching edges? We see a coaching edge there at all?
I'm not going against Chris Mack on a coaching edge.
Yeah,
that guy's as good as it gets.
How about strength of schedule?
Let's see. I've got that right in front of me, actually. Gonzaga strength of schedule is looks like 104. This is off Ken Palm, actually. And Xavier, their strength of schedule is 12. So, well, they play in a lot better league.
Yeah, that's right. They do. Although Gonzaga has played some very tough teams, this team did beat Arizona earlier in the year.
Well, yeah, interesting. On the non-conference strength of schedule, though, Gonzaga 128 and Xavier 38. So Xavier's played the iron all year long, and they do schedule tough. If you look at Xavier's non-conference schedule, Clemson, Baylor, which they lost to, Colorado on the road, which they lost to. They played Utah. Wake Forest was a good team. And then they get into conference play, obviously, and it was a lot better as opposed to Gonzaga. What did Gonzaga? Let's see, Gonzaga's non-conference schedule. This is forever ago, so don't know what it matters. San Diego State, but they were way down this year. They beat Florida on a neutral court. They beat Iowa State on a neutral court. They beat Arizona on a neutral court. Got a decent win against Tennessee in we'll call it a semi-road game. So they've got tournament toughness, if you will, as well. And both teams, by the way, were involved in early season tournaments. Gonzaga won theirs. That was where they knocked off Iowa State in the finals and beat Florida before they got to that game. And Xavier played in a non-conference tournament, early season tournament. And they also won, beating Missouri, Clemson, and Northern Iowa. So these teams know how to win big games. It's going to be a heck of a battle.
Before Sumner went down, I think Xavier was 18-1. And then they lost, I think, 6 games in a row after he got hurt. And then they
they'd lost more than that. They were, let's see, Sumner. Let me check and see what they were when Sumner got hurt. They went real bad after he got hurt. Sumner played the first 21 games. So through 21 games, they were 15-6. And then they went bad. They beat Seton Hall, they beat Creighton, they beat DePaul, then lost 6 in a row before beating DePaul. And then they beat DePaul again in the Big East tournament. Beat Butler, lost to Creighton, and, well, we know what they've done in the NCAA tournament. So they've now won 7 of their last 8. And 2 of those were against DePaul, which can't play, but then, the rest of them were impressive wins. That's going to be fun, and hopefully we'll come up with something good on that game. In the meantime, I guess we've talked enough today. So, again, a reminder, first of all, on the free plays, if you want to get free plays every day, they're on a recorded message at 888-294-1970. And you can also get the game via text message, Jim.
That's right. You can follow me, first of all, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Jim Feist Sports. And you can get free plays every day by texting GAME, G-A-M-E, just spell it out on your phone, G-A-M-E, to 25827. And we'll send you free play right to your cell phone each and every day. And I have to tell you to go to jimfeist.com and check the site out. If you want my plays, check on, click on the Jim Feist selections. It'll get right to a page. Same thing for Dave. And we have great information there, got fast facts. And Dave, earlier you mentioned baseball, but you didn't dig into it. And I'll tell you, Dave is really an expert in baseball. He's been betting the preseason baseball, doing quite well. And I know he's ready.
Not the last couple of days I haven't, so.
Well, we all stub our toes. This is not one of the things. Bookmakers are not out there just to give us money.
No, and I ran into some bullpen problems, which is going to happen in exhibition season. You've got guys who are not going to make the big league roster pitching at the end of games sometimes, and a couple of them went south on me, and then I had a bad play yesterday in the Brewers. But I'm reasonably pleased and looking forward to the regular season, obviously.
Well, I had a good baseball season myself last year, so I'm looking forward to it as well. Though it's a lot harder than it used to be when they throw a starter out there and you figure he's going to get 9 innings. Now you've got to work with the middle guys and the setup guys and the closer guys, and you got to know who's ready and who's not tired and who's not worn out. There's a lot more work in baseball than it used to be, but it's really profitable when you do it right.
And I'm leading in today's game. I have one play so far today, and it's the Red Sox Blue Jays game. And Toronto's up 1-0 in the second inning. I don't think it's over yet.
Probably not.
No. All right, that's going to do it for now. Don't forget the offers. By the way, if you want to get my personal service plays for a full month, half price today, only $250. 855-472-2577. And Jim, you've got a $99 offer that's tremendous.
That's right. Well, it really is, Dave. I mean, it's all the conference, the postseason tournaments in college basketball and the NBA season for $99 and plays every day. If for $99, just call my office, 866-546-9467.
And that'll do it for this edition of Proline. We will come back on Monday with a recap of the weekend and a look ahead to the Final Four. Wow, we'll have the 4 teams set as of Monday. We'll also get into some other stuff as well. Have a great weekend.
You too, Dave.